It's another episode of the Rush Report brought to you by your two favorite Rush hosts and your two favorite losers in the Bigs, Keith and Nick.
Yay!
Welcome back for another depressing episode of the Rush Report.
Did you not get any good Halloween candy, Keith?
No, went to Walmart last night and they were completely out. No Halloween candy whatsoever. Couldn't get the 50% off stuff.
Hey, I got some full size last night. That's how we do it.
But I did get a little mini Snickers and Twix bar from a kid at school, so it was worth it. Maybe. Actually, it was from a staff because a kid didn't want it, but I'll take it.
Perhaps.
But, Nick, is it safe to say that you and I are hating fantasy football? Who hates fantasy football more this year? Was that your Chris Pratt impersonation?
I'll raise my hand. Me.
Oh man, I scored the most points that I have all season and lost. I was depressed. Dave had a great week because of AJ Brown, and the rest they say is history. So it is power rankings week. Did get those together this week, so we will have those for people to argue about or cheer about or cry about.
I already know where I stand, so it's no surprise.
Not much changed at the bottom. I'm just going to say that. Not much change. But looking back at last week, Nick, good news. I went 8-4. I didn't go undefeated again. And you went 9-3.
I got a game back.
You got a game back. So that puts our overall season record from 64-32 for me, and then 55-41 for you. You're doing way better than last year.
Hey, I'll take them where I can.
Yeah, so there is hope on the horizon. Hope.
It's a long way to the top, ladies and gentlemen.
Hope. But just saying that, this is something fun that we always do. So you've only got a few. You're halfway through over halfway through the season to try to get some points back, because we will continue to do this throughout the playoffs and think through that. But trade deadline came and gone, and some moves were made that I think were fantasy relevant. We'll see if that makes any difference going forward as we look at matchups. So are you ready to jump into week 9?
Oh, let's do this.
All right. So week 9, game of the week in the Bigs. Dave and Craig. This is a huge matchup. Dave has always been on the outside looking in on the top tier. Just the way that his points have been, I think it probably comes down to his lack of stellar quarterback play. If you were to think that way, I don't know what you would say about that, but that's kind of my thought process.
I think it's a thought process with a lot of people, though. It's like normally your quarterback doesn't really. I mean, they play a significant role, but they tend to be one of the higher scorers along with your running back. But like the premium names aren't premium this year. I mean, Tua coming in. What are we gonna really get? But Stafford, okay, yeah, he won the Super Bowl. Maybe he's gonna still play well. Him and Carr, for instance, aren't playing well.
Yeah, I saw a stat today that said Matt Stafford last year threw 41 touchdown passes. On the season, he's on track to only throw 17 this year.
That's the issue. I mean, there's lack of consistency in, I think, overall play. I mean, the parity margin is bigger this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. You drafted guys who thought were going to do well. I mean, Stafford was one of those guys that most people came in thinking that they've got a chance to do something special, and they haven't produced. And then Tua, who kind of was an afterthought.
I mean, I think we all knew that Tua was going to be a decent quarterback. I mean, how would he respond to the nonsense that happened last year?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just interesting to see this now. Power Rankings week will show where Dave is in the hierarchy, at least from where I'm looking at it. But Craig's team has continued to produce well. But Dave might have hit Craig at just the right time because of McCaffrey being on a bye this week.
It's all about your matchup placements. I mean, we have each other the last week every single year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. Now, I don't know how you feel about Matthew Stafford this week against the Buccaneers. Shaq Barrett's out for the Bucs, but the Bucs still have a great secondary. And is Cooper Kupp going to be healthy enough to play this week? That's a huge question mark.
Besides Cooper Kupp, there's really not a whole lot. I mean, you got Van Jefferson back, Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson did look a little better this past week. So
Higbee, but he needs some consistency there.
Yep. I do like Tua against the Bears, even though, especially after the Bears got rid of Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith, that defense isn't going to scare a whole lot of people, I don't think.
No.
Then you move to running backs. David Montgomery and Ramondre Stevenson, solid second-tier running backs. Montgomery is getting the in-between the tackle work and is he's become touchdown dependent.
I think him and Herbert are both. I mean, Herbert has the upside of pass catching, but given that team, I mean, both running backs are boom bust touchdown dependent.
Yeah, Herbert though does have the breakaway of speed ability to get chunk plays. You saw that last week, where David Montgomery, he's going to be your 4 yards and a pound of dirt, or what's the old saying, 3 pounds and a pile of dirt or pile of dust or whatever the old football saying was.
Yeah.
But on the other end, Dave's got Gus Edwards. Who is Gus Edwards healthy this week? It's dangerous to go with Gus Edwards into a Monday night game because not much is available out there on the waiver wire due to running backs. Trust me, I know.
He might be safe with just playing Michael Carter.
Yeah, but I do like Miles Sanders' matchup against the Texans. It's a weak matchup. So Sanders has proven that even if they're going to throw the ball in Philly, he's still going to get touches running the ball, which is huge for him.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
As far as wide receivers though go, I do like Chris Olave this week. The Ravens defense isn't as scary as it used to be, and I don't think 1 week of Roquan Smith is going to be enough to make them that dangerous.
And I think it's interesting to note, though, that Olave has been the most consistent target for Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston.
Yeah, he leads all rookie receivers in targets, catches, and receiving yards. So let that sink in. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, stellar. I mean, he came back right after that. He took a week off after the concussion, but he's come back and played very well this season.
Yep, and then for Craig, he's got Mike Evans, Mike Evans is...
He's not the same because Tom Brady's not having a good season.
I don't even know if it's Tom Brady anymore after watching the Bucs. That offensive line is terrible. And Byron Leftwich is not doing anything to help change the offense. What that offense should be is short passes and not trying to go for the deep ball. I feel like it's not.
You need to game manage a little bit just to get where you need to be competitive and slowly rebuild because the South is winnable.
Yep, and then Devin Duvernay, hit or miss, but he seems to be one of the bright spots in Baltimore's offense at the wide receiver position at least. And if Mark Andrews isn't healthy going into Monday night, that's going to be huge to notice that because I think Duvernay's value does go up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
On the other end, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp. We don't need to talk about A.J. Brown. We don't need A.J. Brown. Another crazy stat for anybody that cares. A.J. Brown has 659 receiving yards on the season. Okay? Through seven games, 659 receiving yards. The whole Tennessee Titans receiving core has 658 yards receiving.
Scary.
So, I mean, A.J. Brown is a monster. We know that. And there's not much more to say. Cooper Kupp, if he's healthy, is a definite start. But I don't know if he actually is going to be playing this week. There's a lot of questions about that, if he's going to be healthy for that Buccaneers game.
Yeah, and then like DJ Moore, I think the question's going to be if he's going to be able to show up again with PJ Tucker throwing the ball.
Yeah, it's a favorable
Or
matchup
PJ
against.
Walker, I'm sorry.
It's a favorable matchup against the Bengals. There is a name on here that I think that could have some interest this week on Dave's lineup. Kadarius Toney.
It could be, but how injured was he really?
How injured was he? And I feel like Kadarius Toney could be like Josh Gordon last year, where he signed with the Chiefs and everybody expected big things and nothing happened. Or he could be like Odell Beckham with the Rams last year and finally have his breakout in the last half of the season. So I look to keep an eye on Kadarius Toney on Sunday. All signs point to him being healthy, ready to play, and I could be dangerous for that Chiefs offense.
Mm.
Tight end, I feel like tight end's kind of a wash. I don't think Tyler Conklin has a huge game like he did last week.
Well, it's against the Bills, and I think Robert Tonyan is going to if you're going to really compare him, Tonyan would have the edge, but as we've seen, the Packers' offense is trash.
Yeah, Craig's going to get a kicker in. That's no doubt about it. Will Lutz, I do like the play of Will Lutz this week. I feel like there's some value there in Lutz as a kicker this week. So when it comes down to it, since you won last week, I'll let you take the floor and you go ahead and make the first pick.
See, I don't like. There's so many holes in both these teams, and there's the question marks. So that leads me all sorts of different ways. But the consistency, even though it's a little lower, I don't like the wide receiving play of Craig, but I think I'm going to give Craig the edge.
I agree with you. I think it comes down to the quarterback play. And the Bears offense is not, or the Bears defense, it's not the 85 Bears. That team has been proven that they can be thrown against. So I do like Craig to win this matchup. I wouldn't be shocked if Dave does win it. The questions of Gus Edwards and Cooper Kupp's health is what concerns me, and it concerns me enough that I don't want to pick Dave this week, just because of the health issues there. Because if Cooper Kupp's not healthy, Matthew Stafford doesn't have a good game at all. Is what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
All right. Up next, we've got Jeormy, who got a solid win against Jeffrey last week, against Chad, who got a solid loss last week.
Solid loss. As my camera decided to go click, click. I see what, I mean, I don't dislike the quarterback play, but Kyler Murray's the better option. But we're just here to poke fun at people. But like Justin Herbert against the Falcons this week, it's a given play. Again, I mean, it's going to be the questionable running backs for Chad. I mean, Singletary against the Jets. We'll see what happens with Singletary down the stretch. Harris is the backup, but like Khalil Herbert and Aaron Jones, I mean, those are the plays you got to make this week because of all the buys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Looking at some of the way that these matchups go, I do like Khalil Herbert. The Dolphins don't have a great run defense. DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams last week did run all over them, and at least in the first half, which in fantasy football, who cares when the touchdown's scored when it comes down to it? Whether it's a garbage time touchdown that doesn't really matter to the score of the game or a first quarter touchdown, if a running back's getting a touchdown, that's huge. It's important. And Aaron Jones against the Lions, the Lions' run defense, it's not great. They're getting better, but if the Packers want to win, they have to do more to get Aaron Jones involved.
Absolutely.
So I like the play of Khalil Herbert and Aaron Jones this week.
Yes, it would definitely give you the edge there.
Yep. As far as wide receivers go, even though Brandon Cooks was the talk of being traded all week long, he ended up staying in Houston, which fantasy-wise, I think that still helps his value. Dameon Pierce has been a nice piece and has taken a little bit of pressure off, and you see Cooks still have the volume there, which is huge. I don't love the matchup this week, though. Darius Slay will be following Brandon Cooks and we've seen Slay shut down receivers this year.
Yeah. It's not a great matchup against the Eagles. Corey Davis doesn't have much of a better situation against the Bills.
Yeah, the only good wide receiver in this matchup is Stephon Diggs, but could we see Sauce Gardner shut down Stephon Diggs?
Could. I mean, he's got tons of weapons, so it's just a matter of if he keys on him, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So, or anybody. Does he get spread around? Is he a lock cover the whole game? So it's going to be a matter of how that is. But you got Gabe Davis, McKenzie, Knox, guys that can make plays.
Yep. So, and we've seen the Bills be able to step away from Diggs, and then one drive, it's all Diggs, every play, and it's been fun to watch that with the way that Diggs is been playing this year. On Jeormy's end, Justin Jefferson, especially against the Commanders, look for Justin Jefferson to have a big game. I think the addition of TJ Hawkinson opens up some of the fantasy value for Justin Jefferson. I think it takes away more from Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne than it does Justin Jefferson. Tyler Lockett, he had a rough game against the Giants with fumbles, but he's turning it back into the Tyler Lockett of old, where he was Mr. Reliable. He was usually good for 4 catches, 80 yards, possibly a touchdown. You're starting to see that more with Geno Smith at quarterback, and then Juju's gotten more involved with the Chiefs' offense. I know we just talked about Kadarius Toney in the last matchup, but still, Juju does bring value to the Chiefs against the Titans. The Titans' defense is not the same as old.
Yeah, I mean, Lockett and Juju are the only 2 question marks, but there is value there.
Yep. Tight end matchup, I do give the edge to Hayden Hurst.
Yep.
O.J. Howard had a great first week and then disappeared. I don't think anybody's really surprised by that.
I mean, even this week, I think the Pats' defense is going to play a role because Sam Ehlinger at quarterback isn't going to do it. So it's going to give Jeormy boost where he might not have before.
Yeah, I mean, is there a path to victory for Chad this week?
The same mantra we've had all season: injuries.
Yeah, I would agree. It's Jeormy's matchup to lose, and we've said it all season. If Jeormy's team gets hot, it's one of the better teams in the league that, if it makes the playoffs, it could make a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Up next, I almost made this matchup the matchup of the week, just because of the brotherly bond that this matchup has between Jeffrey and Darren. But Darren got a big win last week against Dan, but it's a bye week for Darren, which does hurt not having Nick Chubb and CeeDee Lamb in his lineup. It
could come home to roost this week, so I think that could be problematic for him.
Yep. Mahomes against Lamar Jackson. This is a great fantasy matchup. It's a great NFL matchup. It's a matchup that the NFL loves, or should I say, the American Professional Football League.
Okay, Pat.
It's one of those things that everybody loves to see. It's 2 premier quarterbacks, and Lamar Jackson. Where are you at with Lamar?
Depends on the week.
Exactly. That's kind of.
He's still, to me, got better numbers than a lot of the other quarterbacks in the league, but still depending on the week.
Yep. And Jeffrey's lineup, Eckler and Deontay Foreman. Foreman is a lead back. He's the number 1 back there in Carolina. Even when Chuba Hubbard comes back.
Yeah, he might lose a few touches and a few points to Chuba when he's in there, but that's about it.
Yeah, and the Bengals defense isn't great. We saw that Monday night.
Yeah, so I mean, he could be a runaway this week.
Yeah, but on the other end, Darren's got Jamal Williams, who's Mr. Touchdown. Kenny Walker, who's Mr. Rookie Running Back. And James Robinson, who could be...
He could play a role.
He could play a role. Granted, it's not a great matchup this week, but it's still something he could be playing in a role. this week for the Jets.
Yeah, so that'd be interesting. He can get away with playing the 3 or playing Drake London, but I get what he's doing.
Yep, I don't hate this lineup, and we'll see what happens at wide receiver though. Can you argue with Jeffrey's trio of wide receivers now that DeAndre Hopkins is no longer suspended?
Well, that and Tyler Boyd.
Yeah,
because Tyler Boyd is the number 2 right now.
He might be even the number 1 with the way T. Higgins has not been producing.
Oh, T. Higgins is just fine.
Did you watch the game Monday night?
T. Higgins is... No, actually, I didn't.
Me neither, but if you look at the stat line, T. Higgins didn't have a great night.
But whether he's a 1 or a 2, I mean, that's still a good thing for a passing offense.
Yep, and then Devontae Smith. Last week was the A.J. Brown show. Against the Texans this week, I feel like it could be the Devontae Smith show tomorrow night.
It's a coin flipper.
Yeah, it really is. For Darren, though, Rondale Moore and Alec Pierce just don't quite they don't step up to the magnitude of Boyd, Hopkins, and Devontae Smith.
I mean, I think Rondale Moore is a nice little piece, but it's not enough.
Yeah. At tight end, though, this is an interesting tight end matchup. Evan Ingram, I don't want to say he's good because he's not great, but he's been finding the ball. He's been Trevor Lawrence's safety valve in the red zone.
Yeah, he won't lose you games. He'll get you points.
Yep. And there's questions of whether Mark Andrews is going to be healthy going into Monday night, so keep an eye on that. That's a big rule. That could change some things for Jeffrey, because, like I said, there's not much on the waiver wire right now and the free agency for much to be done. So
even with that said, though, I think Jeffrey is poised to win this week.
Yeah, I think so. If Darren didn't have the bye week blues without having Nick Chubb and CeeDee Lamb, I think we're talking about something that's a little bit different. But not having 2 of your top scorers hurts Darren this week, and I don't want to say gives Jeffrey an easy win, but
easier
gives
path.
Jeffrey a little bit more of breathing room. So
yeah,
he's got guys that have a what's the word that I'm looking for?
It's an easier,
better track record.
It's an easier path, more predictability.
Yep. Moving right along, we go into my matchup with Bryan. Now,
I can't write you off this week.
I'm on a bye week. I've got the bye week blues this week.
I'm projected to score more than both of you. Look at that.
Yeah, I need a win this week. I need a win this week in the worst way possible.
Just a little bit.
So, Brady and Trevor Lawrence. Did we ever think we would say in fantasy football that Brady and Trevor Lawrence might be a wash?
At some point down the line. But we might be at the line now.
Exactly.
So
I do like this. I'd like to think that Trevor Lawrence has a better match. Well, Trevor Lawrence definitely has the better matchup. It's at home.
He does have the better matchup.
The Raiders are coming to the East Coast. They've never traveled well, track record. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is in line for a good game this week, especially after a bad game last week.
I agree.
As far as running backs go, though, I'm rocking the Minnesota backfield. But Dalvin Cook had 22 points last week, and Alexander Madison had 10. So,
well, the Commanders are in complete disarray.
As we see that they're possibly for sale now, too.
So, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, whether Dontrell Hilliard actually does something this week or not would be saying, but you're playing 2 starting and 2 handcuffs for both.
Yeah, yep. Wide receiver is an interesting wide receiver, though. I spent quite a bit of time this morning because I woke up right before 5, right before waivers went through, and spent about a half hour this morning just going through looking at wide receivers and looking at matchups, and I settled on Terrace Marshall. I know he had a big game last week, and it might just be a flash in the pan, but I think there might be something there between him and PJ Walker, based on PJ Walker getting second-team reps when he was Baker Mayfield's backup and Terrace Marshall being on the second team.
Are you overthinking this?
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
At this point?
Yeah, well, could do worse. Could start Chase Edmonds.
Exactly. I did pick up Chase Edmonds today just for the sheer value of him probably getting touches.
He could be starting here soon.
He could be if Latavius Murray. There is some injury concern there with him. So looking at Bryan's, though, Isaiah McKenzie, he's the third guy on that offense.
Boom bust.
Boom or bust. Hunter Renfrow
has not been here all season.
No, and Adam Thielen, who I think 10.7 points is
it's a little high
on him now, especially with them getting TJ Hawkinson. I don't think Hawkinson's going to be super involved week one, but
I think he's going to do enough being in this Commander. It's a good test game.
Yep. And then tight ends. Pitts and Waller. Waller almost played last week. I think he's back this week. If he's not, I'm in trouble. But I think he's back.
Go get his handcuff. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I've got to figure out something there. But it looks like Waller's going to be playing this week. And then Kyle Pitts, he found the end zone last week, and maybe Mariota has finally found that Kyle Pitts is reliable.
Who would have thought? I
know. And Dawson Knox, he had a touchdown last week. It's against the Jets. The Jets' defense is better than what most expected to be. I think 7-8 points is just about right for Dawson Knox. So it comes down to the moment of truth. I'm picking myself this week. I can't not pick myself at this point. I need a win. I feel like I've got the best lineup possible, even with my bye week bonanza.
What gets me for you? Oh man, yeah, I think you might only win by like a point. Yeah.
Yeah. This might be the closest matchup of the week.
I think you by a point.
I feel like this matchup reminds me of the early 2000s and the mid-2000s Browns-Lions matchups, where it was a 6-3 matchup every single time the two teams played.
How about 2 field goals, and then the other team gets a field goal and a safety? There we
go. A 6-5 win. There we
go.
All right. Up next, we've got Christy's matchup with Caleb. Christy had to do a little bit of jumping around because of bye weeks as well. She added Green Bay's defense kicker, so she's at least got something there. And look for Josh Allen to have a bounce back week this week. He didn't have a great game against the Packers Sunday night. He was good, not great. He was
maybe he's got an injury.
In the world of fantasy football, he wasn't good. But in the world of the NFL, or the American Pro Football League.
Pro-American Football League.
The Professional American Football League.
There we go.
He was serviceable and did enough to win the game. And sometimes that's better than being a great fantasy. Obviously, that's better than being a great fantasy quarterback. But this matchup is intriguing just because where does Caleb go? Caleb got Kenyon Drake this week, which Kenyon Drake is
serviceable.
Boom or bust. He's boom or bust, though.
But he's got Eno Benjamin.
Against a good Seahawks run defense.
That's what I'm saying. Because, I mean, even if James Conner is hurt, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Where Caleb benefits is his tight ends. He's got Gabe Davis, Tyreek Hill. And did you know Christian Kirk is a top 25 wide receiver in fantasy this year?
I believe it.
I just was watching Matthew Berry before we came on, and he was breaking it down. Now, he's only had one great game in the last 5 weeks, but look at who their matchup is. The Raiders. The Raiders can't stop anybody.
Nope. And Tyreek Hill's playing against the Bears.
The Bears.
And Gabe Davis against the Jets. I mean, the Jets still are a better defense. Probably the hardest out of the three.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that goes. But on the other end, Christy's got Tyler Algier, who, with Cordero Patterson coming back, doesn't look like he's going to be playing this week. But Algier has turned into the number one back in Atlanta, I think.
Timeshare right now.
Yeah.
He's probably a 60-40 split, easily.
Yep. She's got CEH or Pacheco, whichever one gets the start Sunday night. I feel like those two are almost interchangeable at this point. And then Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, worst case, Deion Jackson if Taylor is really hurt.
She's got Deion Jackson has Jonathan Taylor's handcuff, which, in his last two appearances, he's had over 250 yards rushing. So I know the Patriots' run defense is a little bit better, but still.
It's going to be a new era in Indianapolis, it seems.
Yep. And then DK Metcalf, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown's value goes up with TJ Hawkinson out. And DK Metcalf is DK Metcalf.
Yeah. And then Titans are about a wash, though.
Yeah, I mean, Gesicki has been getting touchdowns. He's been getting one. I think the last 2 weeks he's had a combined 4 catches, but 2 of them have been touchdowns. So value there, touchdown dependent. Look for that to play a role going into it. Now, Caleb does have some work to do to clean up his roster. Has to get a defense, but based on what you see and what we know of Caleb's track record of finding quality, where's your pick this week?
Christy.
You're not bitter about last week, are you?
Talking about Christy beat me last week. I'm going to give Christy credit. She can beat Caleb.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to go 5 for 5 on agreeing again. I just don't see it for Caleb this week.
Yeah, it's that running game and such.
Yep. Up next, we've got Adam's matchup with Steph. Now, this one, if you look at the numbers, it's close, but I don't think it's as close as what MFL is saying it will be.
Yeah, there's some question marks. Injury question marks right now.
Yeah. I mean, Derrick Henry, he's going to be good, but I don't like that 18-point number for him. I feel like that's a little bit high against the
Chiefs. Yeah.
Chiefs defense that's been better than advertised this year. But
Swift,
on the other end,
if he's healthy.
Swift at 14 points, I feel like is a little low because the Packers have not proven that they can stop the run.
It's the Red Sea there.
Yeah, so maybe that makes it a wash right there. Fournette against the Rams, though, I don't know. The Rams don't scare me. That defense is not the same.
Nope.
On Joe Burrow, looking at the highlights from Monday night, he's not the same without Jamar Chase, and that's something that's got to be concerning. If you're a Bengals fan or if you're Joe Burrow owner in fantasy, say Joe Burrow owner 5 times fast.
Joe Burrow owner. Well, I could do it 5 times fast. I mean, you got Jalen Hurts has a great matchup this week.
Yeah.
Where Adam is going to have issues is replacing Saquon's production.
Yep. Rachaad White was a nice little pickup. There's talk that they want to get him value, or not get him value, get him touches, which increases his value. But even then, we haven't seen it yet, so that's a little dicey of a move. I understand where Adam's coming from, though, with that move. So, because there's not much out there for running backs too.
No.
this week is the big bye week hit. It seems like Browns, Steelers, Cowboys, 49ers, and there's one other team. Maybe it's just those four that are on a bye, but some of your heavy hitters this week are on buys. So, the Giants. Giants are on a bye. So, look for that to affect rosters. Now, does the not having Saquon Barkley, does that hurt Adam this week? Does Adam lose this matchup?
Well, we've seen the last few weeks Taysom Hill might be a real thing. Noah Fant is not good. Nor is Hunter Henry. Right now, it's really hard. I mean, I don't like Stephanie's wide receivers at all.
Yeah, that's where my hiccup is. I don't like Braxton Berrios. I don't mind Michael Pittman because he's getting the volume from Sam Ehlinger. I don't mind it. On the other end, Chris Godwin, Jalen Waddle, again, but Chris Godwin and Jalen Waddle, those two guys. If the Bucs want to win, they've got to do short passes to Chris Godwin and Jalen Waddle. He's the number 2 wide receiver in the league right now, right? Number 2, number 3, something like that. So I feel like that makes up a huge amount of difference, and I think this is Adam's matchup. I don't see. I see a path, but it's a really windy, weird jet sweep with Braxton Berrios getting 2 touchdowns type of path.
This is how I'm viewing the matchup. I view whoever Adam starts for Saquon and Berrios cancel each other out.
Okay.
And the running backs and the wide receivers basically cancel each other out.
Okay.
So it's going to be a coin flipper. I'm going to give Stephanie an edge.
All right. It comes down to the tight end then with what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard sell. I mean, the Bills against the Jets. I mean, the Bills defense is good. I mean, Stephanie might be able to plug somebody and get maybe 5 points. But it's going to be who's going to really score more. And I think the 3-headed running back might be able to do just enough more.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there exactly. So it's an interesting matchup. We could see a big upset this week happen, and see Steph beat Adam. I wouldn't be surprised there. All right, and last but certainly not least in the bigs,
the trash matchup.
The not game of the week. Actually, I think that's mine and Bryan's, but
yeah,
we said that Dan had the potential to break out, and he had 2 great weeks, and then came crashing back down last week.
Yeah, but he's starting Geno Smith. I mean, Geno's been a surprise this year.
Yeah, Geno has been a good surprise this year. I listened to Phil Simms this morning break down Geno Smith, and he said that he always thought Geno Smith had the potential to be something good in this league because of the way that he threw the ball. Now, I'm not an NFL quarterback. I don't know what I'm talking about. But if Phil Simms is saying that stuff, he just got the raw deal in with the Jets. And then when he replaced Eli Manning, everybody hated him because he replaced Eli Manning. He wasn't terrible, but he's found a home in Seattle and looks like a legitimate NFL starter.
That he does. So, I mean, time will tell with him.
Yep.
But, I mean, fantasy-wise, he's got good numbers.
Yep. On the other end, you have Derek Carr, did he forget where the game was last week? Or was it his brother in the Raiders uniform?
Anyways, moving on to running backs.
Oh, man. Joe Mixon and Raheem Mostert. Now, I think Mostert's value stays about the same with Jeff Wilson this week. But look for Jeff Wilson coming in at that trade deadline to eat into Mostert's touches.
But Mostert's 32 years old.
So
he's going to start slowing down. I'm 35. I can tell you what, I slow down.
Yeah, on your end, you got ETN, who he's finally the real deal.
He's gonna be a wrecking ball this week.
Yep, and then Brian Robinson, who I don't love the matchup against the Vikings, but
it's what Brian Robinson shows up.
Yeah, depends on which Washington Commander football team offense shows up.
Ain't that the truth?
Yep. As far as wide receivers go, though, Keenan Allen's back.
Are you sure he's back? He's tried this
know.
once. He's tried this. He decided he's going to play one game, go out for a while, come back for a little bit, and then out again. So,
I don't know.
Will Keenan Allen actually play?
Okay, Josh Palmer and Robert Woods have no injury designation next to their name.
Yeah. Robert Woods, is he the man in Tennessee? Because
if he's the man in Tennessee, it's pretty sad that they need the man to return punt returns.
Yep.
I'm just going to throw that out there.
And then Josh Palmer. Yeah.
I don't hate the Josh Palmer move.
No, it's not horrible, but we're scraping at the bottom of the barrel at this point.
Yep. On your end, is Devontae Adams listed as questionable because of the terrible game last week, and they can use that as an excuse?
All right, Romeo Dobbs. Yeah.
He had a great touchdown catch last week in the end zone.
Yeah, he sure did. Probably the only thing that was good about that game, and then I cut it off. So, anyways, against the Lions. So maybe Rodgers will stop crybabying for 1 week and fade Dobbs.
Moving on, tight ends. Kelsey's value is still high. He's number one tight end in fantasy football.
Kelsey was going to outscore both my tight ends. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you brought it up, yeah. I don't know if Hawkinson's value goes up this week. I don't see him being super involved, but I think he's going to get some looks in the offense. I think he's going to have a game kind of like what Christian McCaffrey did when he got traded to San Francisco. Good, not great. 6.5, 7. If he gets a touchdown, I could see him cracking 10 points.
A little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah, so, Nick, dare I ask who you're picking this week?
Sure. I'm going to hide for a minute. Sure, I'll pick myself.
All right.
Yeah, that's very confident, wasn't it?
You're so confident, and for the sake of everything, Rush Report land, I'm gonna pick Dan.
Yeah. I hope Geno Smith tears his ACL.
You say that every week about every quarterback that you play against.
Yeah, one of these weeks. I mean, you know what?
And then you're gonna say it, and then you're gonna feel horrible.
No.
And then we're gonna send the episode of the Rush Report to the quarterback and blame you.
No, because you know what? I guarantee somebody else has said that besides just me.
That brings us to the end of the Bigs. Anything that you want to say about that you saw in the Bigs this week?
There are some really bad teams in the Bigs.
There are some bad teams, and two of them are right
us.
Oh man, we need to bring somebody on the Rush Report just so that way we can break the curse. Oh man, but the Wii League's matchup of the week is I this is the best that I could find. Based on projections, based on rosters not having or complete rosters, not knowing what the Wii League has on the waiver wire, we got Daniel against Sam. On paper,
what are you doing? That's awful.
I know. You'll see some of these matchups are terrible. But on paper, this is the closest matchup possible.
All right, then. We haven't talked about Darrell Henderson against the Bucks.
We have not. there's reports now that the Rams want Cam Akers back. Do they not like Darrell Henderson?
I don't think he's going to play another down. I think he's done.
I think he's done. I think Kyron Williams comes in, and they liked him in the preseason and dealt with a soft tissue injury. Look for Kyron Williams to overtake Darrell Henderson. That's my prediction and hope and prayer. On the other end, we haven't talked about Josh Jacobs. Jacobs this year has looked like a solid understating what he's done. He's been a good running back, good RB1, except for last week. But nobody in Vegas showed up. So Jacobs gets the pass last week, and the Jaguars defense it's still not great. Look for Jacobs to have a little bit of a big week this week. That's kind of my. If I had to do a ride or die this week, I think I would go with Josh Jacobs. What do you think?
Against the Jags, absolutely.
Yep. Just looking at that, I think that's huge. Another name that we didn't talk about is Zach Ertz. Even with DeAndre Hopkins coming back, Ertz is still getting looks in Arizona's offense.
He's got good hands. He's getting the breakaways that he needs to, so.
Yep, and he's always reliable in the red zone, down near the goal line. So I do like that. So based on these matchups, is it the Andy Dalton-led Josh Jacobs, Jingleheimer Schmidt, or the Captain Kirk TikTok dancers?
Sam. Why? I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to take Daniel on a whim. Why not? Let's make mayhem happen in the Wheelie.
I got no reason for my justification.
Same here. All right. This is the next matchup. Mark Friedman against Owen. Now, Owen has a terrible, terrible bye week blues.
Hey guys, I think Mark's going to win this week. It's not your fault, Owen. It's just how it happens. I mean, we could put Tyler Algier and sure, we're going to put Chase Claypool in and Paris Campbell, but that's
and
still
put in Mahomes over Brady, but
that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, I sorry, Owen. Do we even need to break this down?
No. No offense, Owen. It's nothing against you. It's just the way that it works.
I mean, the only thing that I guess I would say, Kyler Murray. Which Kyler Murray shows up on Sunday?
It's still the better option than Derek Carr.
Oh, I agree, but let's at least give this matchup a little bit of respect instead of just talking about video games.
Kenneth Wall. I'm curious about Kenneth Walker if he continues his dominance and runs all over the Cardinals this week.
Yeah, but going back to Kyler Murray, is Kyler Murray due for a good week? I don't know what to make of Kyler Murray at this point.
He's a hard one to make up. I mean, like, how much of it is lack of film study and how much of it is just ineptitude?
Yeah, or his inability to see. Like, I hate to make the short joke, but at some point, you gotta think being under 6 foot affects a guy.
But you look at the guys like a Drew Brees who was under 6 foot, but he was still able to make it work. But
Russell
that was
Wilson.
Yeah, well, not so much this year. Past years, you look at how they were able to either get outside the pocket, they were able to adjust their eyesight from behind the line. He's not doing any of that. He's literally running around and chucking the ball. Feels like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't love Kyler Murray. I think he's a little overrated, both in the NFL and in fantasy. He gets his value from running, and I don't love Kyler Murray.
No.
All right. Sorry, Owen. We would love to be able to say something nice about your team, but at least you got Patrick Mahomes. There we
Against
go.
the Titans. Maybe he'll score 50 points for you.
Maybe. Probably not. All right. Up next, we've got Lincoln against Brandon. I told you some of these matchups were rough down in the Wii League this week. I wasn't making it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Without really knowing what's going down in the bottom, it'd be interesting to see how Lincoln does with running back situation. Because I mean, you put in Terry. It's not too bad of a trade off for one of his running backs, but you got to figure out the running game. I mean, that will at least put him more competition. Maybe 92 points, and you're going to find the other guy. Running back wise, you're probably going to be 7 to 8 points. I mean, you're still going to be short.
Yeah.
Based on projection, I mean, Hurts against the Texans is great. Swift against the Packers is great. Christian Kirk is this week. Jalen Waddle, great matchup. So he's got the matchups. It's just a matter of what's available down there.
Yeah. I look at this and think at the beginning of the season, Brandon struggled out of the gate. I think he started at 0-3, something like that, 1-3, and he's turned it around to be 4-4 right now, which is
still competitive.
Huge. Puts him right in a position to get promoted. It's not about how you start, but how you finish.
And I think this is a good break for Brandon this week with Lincoln having bye issues because he's got Stevenson, Derrick Henry. Don't love the quarterback, but you know what? He might be able to do something this week against the Lions. Wide receivers are concerning, but again, it's about how the wind is going to blow for him this week.
Yeah, I do think you're right. Not getting Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey getting them in their bye week is huge. Brandon does get a little bit of a reprieve there. But let me ask you this. Is putting in Terry McLaurin and even James Cook, let's just say it's James Cook, and there's 14 points right there. That puts him up to 95.
He's going to have to outdo his things. But 20 points is a significant number for Jalen Hurts. It's not unrealistic for him to get 20 points, but how much more can he get than that? Are they going to say, hey, we're in front, we're going to run the ball? And then you got Christian Kirk against the Raiders.
Right.
Yeah, good matchup. Okay, let's say 15 points.
Yeah.
16 points even. Jalen Waddle, okay, 15, 16 points. He's still running points shy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. DeAndre Swift might have a little bit more than he might hit that 17, 18 mark just because the Packers' run defense hasn't been able to stop anybody this year.
But the problem is, if once he gets down within the 5-yard line, it's Jamal Williams. Right.
That's the big question of what's going to happen. So, what you're saying is this is Brandon's matchup to lose.
Yeah, there is a path for Lincoln here. I mean, it's better than the whole adage of I hope your team gets hurt. There's a path to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very hard. I can make a case for him, but it's a very difficult case to make, which is why I think this is perfect for Brandon to get up over the 500 mark.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just was trying to play devil's advocate and
I was
looking at the numbers.
I was thinking it's like
I would think that there's got to be a better running back option than James Cook out on the waiver wire down the league.
Yeah, there's at least anywhere a guy from 7 to 8 points probably sitting down there, but again, it's not enough. I mean, he's going to need a lot to break his way.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think Brandon wins this week, and I dare I say it's not close.
It could very well not be.
All right. Now, I almost went with this game for the matchup of the week, but pretty much the reason why I didn't is because it seems like Nate is always in the game of the week in the Wii League. And I think that's just because of his record. He's undefeated. But this matchup could be a very fun matchup, especially once Austin Eckler gets put into the starting lineup.
It'll be interesting, to say the very least.
Yeah.
If you're really looking at this, the quarterback play will be interesting to see. Which Lamar shows up. Will Burrow be able to do anything? Running back slight edge tonight.
I agree.
Which I say slight because you got Eckler going.
Yep, and I still go back. I think that 12.85 is too high for Raheem Mostert. I think he's more of a 7-8 point guy this week against the Bears.
But I mean, Nate has. You know our rule, that starting the same two players, but you know what? A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are special.
I was just about to say, as much as I don't like it, I feel like those two guys, there's two teams this year that you can get away with starting both wide receivers from their team. The Dolphins and the Eagles. Just the way that those teams are built, the way that they're called, I don't hate actually starting Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown this week. I don't. I think it's a favorable matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good potential there.
Yep.
And of course, I love the Chris Olave.
Yep. But on Micah, I mean, his receivers aren't slouching either.
No.
Tyreek Hill, Tyler Lockett. We talked about Adam Thielen. Don't love him, especially with T.J. Hawkinson coming over. The part where that gets me with Micah's team is tight end. I don't.
You can't play him.
Like Logan Thomas. Again, I would think that there's got to be somebody a little bit better than Logan Thomas on the free agents list.
Yeah. So who you going with this one though?
I can see both teams winning this, but I think it comes down to wide receiver play, and I think Nate's wide receivers overtake Tyreek Hill, Tyler Lockett, and Thielen. I think that's where it comes down. I'm going with Nate.
I'm going with Nate as well.
All right. As we head into our last matchup, though, just a quick recap. Nick, you and I have picked every game the same except 3.
Brilliant.
Yes. So, I don't want that to be a deciding factor for you, but just thought I would throw that little tidbit of knowledge out there. All right. Last up, we have Mark Nelson against the Commish. Shayne.
Interesting move with Shayne starting Mr. Fields this week.
Yeah, I actually don't hate it. I actually like Justin Fields.
I've seen it a few other leagues, so it's not the first time I've seen it this week.
And if you start to look at Justin Fields and the way that he's playing, I'm kind of mad that I dropped him last week and not Kenny Pickett, because Justin Fields is starting to look a little bit more like an NFL quarterback every single week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying Chase Claypool is the answer, because I don't think he is. I'm glad he's not in Pittsburgh anymore. But I think it does something for a quarterback to know that you have at least a wide receiver who thinks he's good.
A wide receiver that actually thinks that he's good.
I mean, if you asked him at the beginning of the year, he was the top 3 wide receiver in the Professional American Football League.
Moving right along.
I like Justin Herbert's matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good. Herbert gives the edge in the quarterback thing.
Yep.
Running backs are. The edge is going to have to go to, was it Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Only because of Herbert over Antonio Gibson. Gibson is the pass catcher now. He's the old J.D. McKissick role.
Yep. Agreed.
So, and how healthy is Jonathan Taylor? Cooper Kupp if he's healthy. I mean, but I still like DJ Moore and London more than I do Isaiah McKenzie.
I agree. I do think there's value there. DJ Moore and Drake London. J.C. Jackson's not going to be there. I look at this, and I think Shayne actually has an advantage this week. I don't know why. I think it's probably because
Travis Kelce. And
Travis
I
Kelce
really like the defense move.
Yeah. I don't hate Kansas City, though. I do like Kansas City, especially if Malik Willis is playing this week. It's still to be determined whether it's a Tannehill or Willis week. I actually like Shayne this week. Just it's a little bit of a hunch, and Shayne will probably say on Discord that I cursed him for losing this week. But there's some things here for Shayne that I feel like MFL is actually undersold.
I could argue Justin Fields is undersold. I do believe Antonio Gibson's gonna have a nice little role this week because obviously they're gonna be from behind. JT is the big question for me whether he's gonna play or not. Mm-hmm. But let's curse Shayne some more and pick Shayne.
All right. So that brings us to power rankings time. And Matt is on the bye week this week, so he gets the lovely bye, the bye win. All right, power rankings time. Number 1, you ready? For the bigs, number 1, it's Adam.
Adam or Jeffrey?
It's been consistent. Number 2 is actually Craig. I forgot that I changed this.
Craig? Really?
Yes. Jeffrey lost a close one last week, and when you look at the numbers, Craig's numbers are just a tad bit better and a little bit more consistent than Jeffrey. But with Jeffrey's matchup, with Jeffrey's lineup with the wide receivers, he's number 3. I'm probably going to get a text from him saying that I'm an idiot and a moron for making him number 3 and not number 2. But he didn't have a chance to win last week, but he had Patrick Mahomes on a bye and went with P.J. Walker at quarterback, and so can't blame him there. And Caleb got lucky with a bye week where Eckler and Mahomes were on a bye week. So that's the only reason why Jeffrey dropped, just the way that the schedule worked. Number 4, we have Dave. I said when we were talking about his matchup,
Dave.
He's right on the outside. He's had some things break right for him with his running backs. Miles Sanders turned it out to be a good stud of a running back, and he had Breece Hall for a while. I still like Michael Carter in that backfield just for the sake of the continuity that he brings. Number 5 is Christy. This keeps pretty similar to where we were 2 weeks ago. This is where it gets a little bit crazy, though. Number 6 is actually Steph. If you look at the numbers on the team, her team has been consistent, especially at the running back.
I think you're losing relevancy here, Mr. Keith.
Oh, I am losing relevancy here.
You might be losing some relevancy. I know she's got great running backs, but other than that,
I do know this week's kind of a prove-it week for her. We talked about that. Like, you did pick her this week to beat Adam. Just throwing that out there.
You were right. I mean, it's all about matchups and bye weeks. So, and parity. Let's go with that parity. I think my biggest concern is going to be, of course, the rest of the season is going to be the wife's receiving game.
Oh, absolutely. And in 2 weeks from now, when we do our power rankings again, I could say that she's dropped to 10. I wouldn't be surprised at that. But where the points
now, she certainly will destroy me without even thinking about it. But I'm just saying.
With the way the points are standing right now, and you got to look at points scored and points for, points against. That does play a big role in where power rankings do happen to because of draft seeding position. Number 7 is Darren. Darren hit that rough stretch where he did lose 3 in a row. So that hurt him, but I still like, it seems like whenever Darren wins this league, he's always 6, 7, 8 going into the playoffs and just takes off. So Darren's sitting pretty right there. And at number 8, cracking the playoffs right now, if we were to start this season or start the playoffs, is actually Jeormy. We've said it all season long. Jeormy's team is just one or two. I mean, in all reality, Jeormy shouldn't have lost to me back in week 2. Thank you, Jeormy. I still appreciate it. That's really the only bad loss that he has. All of their losses have been good losses, and he got a good quality win last week. Actually, no. He got a good quality win against Jeffrey, not Caleb. Jeffrey did not lose to Caleb. Jeffrey lost to Jeormy. So, sorry about that. Too many numbers going on in my head. Number 9, Caleb. He's just on the outside looking in. And then this is still the same. Dan at number 10. You're at number 11. Bryan at number 12. Chad at 13. And me at 14. So, holding out hope that come playoff time I can pull off a miracle. The main miracle or something like that.
Do you believe in miracles?
So, obviously you have a problem with Steph at number 6. Anything else that you have a problem with?
No, I mean, yes. You got to count for Darren and that losing streak because Darren, I think, is better than 7.
I agree.
And I would say that I would put Steph down at. I mean, I would even tire. I mean, it's splitting hairs here. I think Jeffrey's higher than 3. I would say he's probably 2. Maybe tied with 1. It's a hard one right there. But Steph maybe down tied with Jeormy.
Yeah. So, I mean, things are going to change in 2 weeks. I think this stretch of the next 2 weeks is really going to show some stuff. Who knows? Maybe one of us can climb out from the bottom.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah, you're right. All right, in the Wii League, no change at the top. Nate,
Nope.
number 1. No change at number 2. Sam at number 2. Even though he had a bad loss against Nate, he's still the second best team in the Wii League. At number 3, you got Mark Nelson still looking good, looking solid to make a good playoff push. His team's very solid. At number 4, Mark Friedman. Started to look at the numbers. Last time he was ranked 6th. This week he moves all the way up to 4. His team. We were talking about Kyler Murray and what his fantasy value is, but his team's built very well. So that plays a huge role. At number 5, Micah. Micah's made a nice playoff push after starting off 0-2 and what we thought had the potential to be a good team just didn't produce those first couple weeks. He's made a good run into the playoffs. And number 6 is Lincoln. This is another one. Lincoln's team is a lot like Steph's, where but instead of it being worse, his team should be better.
Absolutely.
You know, at the beginning of the season, we were saying he was probably the second best team, but he had an ugly losing streak, and sometimes it's just the way that the chips fall. But these are the 6 teams that would be in the playoffs right now, and you can make a case for all 3 of these, any 3 of these teams to get promoted.
Mm-hmm.
On the outside looking in is Brandon.
Making a run.
Making a good solid run. Seems like that's what he always seems to do. Can he come through, though, in the bigs, or at the end of the season? Number 8 is Acres of Space with Matt. That kind of surprised me because I had him actually ranked at number 4 in our last power rankings. Lost 2 in a row. Just, there's nothing that you can do about that with the way the numbers lie. Number 9, you have Daniel. with the TikTok dancers. And at number 10, you have Shayne. And, sorry, Owen, you're at number 11. That's what happens when you trust Najee Harris. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I got.
At least both of our real teams that we like stink this year.
Yeah, yep. So that's it. That's it for the bigs. Anything that you see that sticks out to you with the Wii League?
No, that's pretty much a good feeling of what's going on in the bottom. I think Brandon and Matt both can make a run. We'll see where Shayne is here with see if he can get some lightning in a bottle and move his way up.
Yeah. So things are still there. I mean, we've got 4 weeks left of the regular season, and then trade deadline's week 11?
I think he said 11.
I think that's what I saw. So get trades in there if you want to make deals. Anybody's available. Anybody's open for business. Keep the phone lines open.
I'm going to give you a 4th and an 8th round pick for Kyle Pitts.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Too bad we don't trade draft picks in this.
Oh, wrong league.
All right. That's all that I've got. Nick, anything that you have to say as we finish out this week's Rush Report?
No. No.
All right. Coming to you live from the Millennium Falcon. Thank you for once again watching the Rush Report with us, and we hope to see you next week. Same time. Same time.